Hi, welcome back to Carl and Rick Talk Risk. We were just sharing some jokes at my expense, but glad to see everybody back. Rick, how are you?
Awesome, but I'm a little sorry that the jokes at your expense are probably not going to make the edits as
Oh,
if
well,
we actually edit these things. But anyhow,
the one at your expense is coming in a minute.
how come those never get edited out? Like this is just one long exercise in jokes at my expense.
Sorry, Rick. What can I say? Okay. Well, one thing I always look forward to in my LinkedIn feed, and there's not a lot I look forward to in there. There's a lot of junk, but one thing I always look forward to is the Dalhousie Investment Club's newsletter, Dallas.
The
Uh,
schooner.
the Schooner, the Schooner. I knew there was a catchy name. Okay, the Schooner. It's a good read. I've met your students, Rick. People, the watchers probably don't know that, and they peppered me with questions about career and risk management and so on. And I had a fantastic evening interacting with them. I still remember one of your students asking me about the luxury watch trade. That was fun, fun conversation. But I always read the Schooner if I see it on LinkedIn, and I especially read, beside the excellent student articles on different asset classes and so on, I always read Rick's rant. And this week's issue was very interesting, and that's what we're going to get into. But first, I'm going to hook everybody into clicking on the link that we share in the notes and reading the article yourself because you'll see Rick getting pied in the face. You almost don't know it's you under all that pie.
Yeah, well, first off, the pie. There's a story to that. We actually have to provide the video. Okay, I've
Okay.
got to figure out a way to put the video online. But for those of you who are not Canadian, the month of November is called Movember, and it's a fundraiser for men's health, mainly men's prostate health, but also in recent years, mental health and general overall health. And well, part of Movember, it's a fundraising event, and men grow mustaches. And for years, I did that. And my wife, contrary to your spousal unit, my wife does not like facial hair. So she basically banned me from participating in Movember. And the student said, well, we still want you to be kind of a draw for this event. And it's a big event at Dalhousie. It's a big event across Canada. So for those of you who are dealing with Canadian businessmen during the month, if you see that they look really rough, particularly at the beginning of the month, that's why. And so anyhow, they came up with the idea of having an auction to pie Rick in the face. And so that happened for a couple of years. And in fact, we raised so much money that we were the top fundraising organization in Canada. And because of that, Chris Hadfield, the Canadian astronaut, came and spoke at our school, which was a really, really cool event.
Oh.
And I got to give a shout out to Mike Welks, who was president of Dallas at the time, a Dalhousie Investment Society that produces the schooner on a monthly basis that you mentioned. Thank you for that shout out. But Mike Welks did a terrific job of organizing that. And so anyhow, that was many moons ago, many years ago. And this year they came up with an election. So during the month, if you paid $1, you got a vote. Not sure how, that deals with democratic principles, but you got a vote, and then you got the vote for the professor you wanted to see pied. And well, unfortunately, that was an election I won. Now, little did I know that my wife was working behind the scenes, and she was the one that wound up pieing me. So the full video is actually a bit of fun.
That's great.
So
Brilliant.
anyhow,
Okay.
But thanks for the shout out about the schooner. It's a monthly publication of our students. Excuse me. I think that they do a great job.
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah.
quite professional. Yeah. Um, yeah, we've got to have some of them come right for intelligent risk in the future. This could be a recruitment. Well, okay, Rick, let's get onto the article. It was about asking, uh, you'll have to give us your synopsis here, but it was about asking the
Yeah.
right questions, right?
Yeah. I think that questions are massively underappreciated. Okay. We overappreciate answers. Uh, and I believe that this is especially important in risk management. Uh, we see this, I've seen this big change in risk management from where risk management departments were senior staffers who've been around a long time. They knew how people broke bones, they knew how people healed bones. And so they basically became the risk managers without any of what we now call kind of the formalized risk management training. And we kind of gone a total flip flop on that, where it seems like everyone in risk management now has a master's degree in risk management. They have a certification. They have the PRM, professional risk management uh, uh, um, certification, and they're all highly trained in answering the questions of risk management. What they're not experienced in is the questions of risk management. And while this applies to life in general, but in this age of AI, answers are becoming a commodity. It's the questions that are um, the things of value.
Mm-hmm.
The better the answers, the solutions that we have, the quality of those are almost totally dependent upon the value of the question.
Mm-hmm. And you totally see this when you interact with AI
Oh,
for even
yeah,
10 minutes,
yeah.
because a lot of people just throw their hands up in there like, this is junk, I'm getting garbage. And I'm like, what did you ask it?
Yeah, you asked
You
it a
have to be
garbage
very
question, it
careful.
gave you a garbage answer.
Yeah.
But it even goes beyond AI. Um, a lot of what we do in risk management, and I'm trying to be constructively critical here. I'm not trying to be
Mm,
just critical, but a lot of what we do is follow the best practice of risk management
yeah.
without ever asking, is that best practice for us?
Mm-hmm.
And the best practices, let's think of the major risk frameworks. Some of them kind of well known in other venues for, bullying up on and, taking unfair advantage of. Um, but, they're designed for one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just ludicrous. And so best practices, almost by definition, are taken as best for everyone. And no one ever asks the question, what is best practice for us?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Or if they do, they ask it superficially.
yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, most banks have an annual process where they sit down and think, okay, what kind of asteroid could hit us, But it's interesting, why is it such a novel thing to do, to ask that question, like, what are we missing? It should be a daily question, right? It should be something we're always kind of thinking about, what could happen? What are we not thinking about? What are we missing here? But it's really sort of at a lot of banks, a lot of risk department, it's an annual exercise where you sit down and think, okay, what are we missing? What else needs to be in our risk framework? What other risks are we exposed to that we didn't realize? But it should be ongoing. It should be a habit.
But I think part of the answer of why it's not
Mm.
is Sudoku.
Okay.
Okay. Um, a lot of us do Sudoku. Personally, I'm addicted to Ken Ken. Okay, so the pot calling the kettle black here. Okay, So I love Ken puzzles. I work real hard to get all my, or as much as I can of my to-do list done so I can sit down and enjoy a fine Dominican product and do a couple of Ken puzzles. Okay. The reason we like Sudoku, the reason we like crossword puzzles, the reason we like Ken, jigsaw puzzles, etc., is one, it engages the mind, and
Mhm.
two, it gives us the little shot of feel good chemicals when we finish it.
Mhm.
With questions, we're never finished. With
Mhm.
questions, we never know if we're done. With
Mhm.
questions, we don't get that endorphin of knowing that we've cracked something
Yeah. Yeah.
because questions are always open. And good questions, not only are they always open, but they lead to 10 more
More
questions,
questions, you know?
each of which leads to 10 more great
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. There's
And so
that.
we never get the closure that we get with doing a Sudoku or with calculating what the value at risk is on a given day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they kind of need to work in tandem a little bit because eternal questions, can stay a bit abstract. You have to be able to funnel it at some point. But I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast before, but in graduate school, I chose between journalism and finance, risk management. And of course, in journalism, you go through the five whys a lot of times. Why does it happen? You get an answer. You ask, why does that happen? And you keep going until you've asked it at least five times, because then hopefully you've got into the bedrock, the foundation of what's going on, and not some symptom of it.
I actually prefer, just real quick interjection, I actually
Hmm,
prefer 5x5 whys.
okay.
In other words, what you do is you come up for every situation 5 whys, and then for each of those 5 whys, then you do the 5 whys. I'm a
Okay.
huge thing of that. The problem with just doing the 5 whys is yes, you get to a core why,
Yeah.
but with every great problem, there's almost more than one core why.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. Um, it also reminded me as I was reading through your very good article. It reminded me a little of the book that we read. That we both read. But what's his name? Um, but things that never change. Um, I'm blanking on the name.
Same as ever.
Same as ever, Morgan Housel.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about those questions he posed, and I've still kind of got them rattling around in my head. And I was thinking, okay, what would be a Morgan Housel question I could ask my team, when I get back? Because I'm trying to read your article, but also implement it. How can I make this useful in my daily life? And I was thinking, how could things go bad? Posing that at a team call, and trying to drill into, um, you know, aside from all the things we're always monitoring, how else could things go bad? What news story have people read recently that got them thinking? And the other one I had was, what do we never talk about? Crises come out of certain events, and then it's assumed, well, that crisis is over, and then you don't talk about it for 10 years. But that's normally where things do pop up when you're not paying attention to them anymore. Um, but yeah, so there's practical implications for asking good questions as well.
A question I particularly like is Peter Thiel's interview question. I'm probably going to mangle it, and I can't remember his exact phrasing. But it's what is it that you believe that most people disagree with you about? And I think that's a great question for risk departments. What
Yeah.
is it that our risk department believes that most people disagree about? And if the answer is nothing, then basically you're posed to get whacked in the side of the head by a huge systemic risk
Mm-hmm.
that takes you and everyone else down with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Um, yeah. It also speaks a little bit to the value of case studies, good case studies that really drill into what on earth
Cases,
happened.
not cases story, but Socratic case studies,
Socratic
which I
case.
talk
Yeah.
about in my article, which is
Yeah.
a fine distinction mainly for those in B school, but anyhow,
Yeah. Yeah.
business school.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, Rick, I hope everybody goes and reads the article. I found a lot of value in it. Always a good reminder. Yeah, and we are in the background thinking of some ideas for upcoming podcast episodes, possibly featuring guests for the first time. We're into year number 2, so those are a little few plans for expansion there. But yeah, for let's call this one a wrap, and hope you subscribe and let us know your thoughts on what we discussed today. Perfect.
Sounds good. Have a good week, everyone. Ask lots of good questions.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Bye.